Okay, welcome to another update on Archmage Rises, the greatest, most advanced role-playing game ever being made.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are continuing our series about meeting the team, and before we get into that, we are currently building Build 11, and so we've introduced a ton of new features over the last 20 updates. Basically, is like, hey, you're going to be able to do this, you're going to be able to do that, and we got this, and we got that. And the problem is, as we grind away on Build 11, there's nothing new to say. Like, hey, we're working on Build 11, and it's going slow, but it's going, and there's nothing really else to say about that. So that's why I thought it was a good opportunity in order to introduce people more to the people behind the game, and then when we're ready to show Build 11 to everybody, then we'll do that. So, Nick, you've been working on Build 11?
I have.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so that takes care of that part of the update. Now, let's. Today we're going to be introducing Nic Biondi, and did I say your last name right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I mean, it's only been a few years. And so we went out to the fan base and said, hey, what questions do you have for Nic? And what's great is we got a whole range of questions, from the wacky to the deeply philosophical to one guy asking, what is your Unity setup? So the technical, and everything in between. So we're just going to take it away, and I'm going to start with the first question coming from Will Sama. Actually, I forgot to introduce our new co-host that's going to be here every single week. Roger.
No,
the artist.
Totally not. This is one Friday now.
One Friday, yeah. He's very upset about giving up his Friday to hang out with me and Nick.
It's my pleasure, man.
He has better people to hang out with than us. But anyway, okay. So yes, that's everybody who's here, and so we'll start with Will Sama's first question: where did you grow up?
I grew up in Southern Oregon, United States, which is the bottom half of Oregon. It's a very small town of 100,000 people or so. And as soon as I graduated college, I moved up to Portland, where I am now.
Okay. That's pretty cool. A small town is 100,000 people.
Yeah.
All right.
In the U.S.
You hear that, Thomas?
Not in Canada. It'd be a state capital.
So Will Sam also wants to know what your first video game was. I'm not sure if he means what first video game you made, or if the first video game you played. But
okay, I'll answer both. The first video game I made was written in QBasic, and it was a fantasy dungeon crawler. I tried to make it 3D, but it was I had to draw the art using circle and square calls. So you can imagine it was pretty bad, but you'd sort of, you had cardinal directions, you'd walk around, pick up treasure. That was the first game I ever made. The first game I ever played that I can remember was Mario on Nintendo. And I can still remember my dad giving me a controller and not telling me what it did. And so we just kind of push all the buttons and figure it out. And I remember we would run into that first Goomba, it felt like hundreds of times, because we didn't even know there was a jump, right? So we finally got to move, and we just run into it. And he was fine just sitting there and watching us, so we figured it out all on our own. It was great.
Okay.
Okay, Brendan Marsh wants to know what kind of games do you enjoy playing?
I like playing games that are new and interesting. I play a lot of roguelikes. So I don't know. I don't really play a lot of AAA games. Mostly indie games. Anything that has.
Because he's cheap, everybody.
I am cheap.
Maybe that's your fault, Thomas.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, what are you playing these days? Will Sama wants to know what games you're playing.
Right now I'm playing Overwatch and PUBG, which is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds.
No AAA games, right?
Yeah, okay, you got me there. One issue with indie games is very few of them have online multiplayer, and that's because you have to have a huge user base to make it work.
Yeah.
I would like to, but I guess if you play as many video games as I do, it seems a little bit of a, I don't know, it seems like maybe it's wasting some kind of valuable time if you're not spending it playing with other friends. So that's part of why I been playing multiplayer games lately. Sort of, tempers my guilt a little bit.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So outside of games, what do you enjoy doing for fun?
Oh, I don't leave the house.
Damn, that's true.
What I do, it's because I'm getting drugged to some vacation or something, the joke is that I won't go anywhere that doesn't have good internet access. So, I do some, I guess more physical stuff. Like I'll do bike camping for a few days where we ride around on an island and camp, holding all of our gear on the back of the bike and that kind of thing. But for the most part, I'm just sitting behind a computer all the time. What you see is what you get. This is where I am all the time.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, are you like active in the local game development scene?
Yeah.
Brandon Marche wants to know that. So.
Yeah, Portland has a really thriving game scene, indie game dev scene called Pig Squad, and I am pretty active in that, both in making prototypes and stuff with game jams with them, or helping out at a con and that kind of thing. It's been really, great.
Okay.
How long have you been making games?
The first game I tried to design, I was 8, and it was based on a Weird Al Yankovic song. I don't know, my little mind was really into Weird Al. But I don't think I actually started programming until maybe 10, so I think I'm 36, give or take a year. And,
I think I am.
Yeah, I'm always a little fuzzy on that.
Check your driver's license.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Good idea. I don't have it with me, but yeah, I think I'm 36. So that would be
26 years.
I don't know. 26 years. Look at that math whiz over there.
Wow.
Yeah, 26 years.
Okay. So how did you get into making games? Like,
I love playing games, right? And when I was younger, I thought that because I never saw any older people older than children playing video games, I thought it was something I'd grow out of. Right. So I just kind of figured it was something I would enjoy, and not anymore. But I didn't realize is that games were new, and so people that are older than me, they thought it was for kids too, right? So they never tried it. So I'm very happy to know that I can still play video games at 36 years old. It makes me very happy. My 8-year-old self would be excited to know that.
Right.
Okay, Brendan Marche asks if you could talk about some of your other projects. What are some of the other games that you've been making? I'm talking like professionally.
Oh, okay.
Not your 8-year-old attempts at dungeon crawlers.
That counts. So I've worked on a game called Hardlander, which is a multiplayer, local multiplayer, physics-based rocket wrestling game.
Okay.
It's perpetually in development because I can't hit the release button, but it's done. And then I've worked on a game called Happy Mart, which is a game about depression. It's supposed to show people how to help other people with depression. So it's like a kind of like an RPG, and that was designed by a doctorate student. And then I released a game about, what was it, Toddler Fun, which is a app, and that was just for kids, like drawing. It's like a bunch of mini games and stuff like that. Other than that, I just do tons and tons of prototypes. For me, I think like coming up with an idea and then living in that world for a little while is sort of its own reward. And the work that it takes to actually polish and finish is so much that a lot of times I'll just move on to the next thing.
You sound like every indie game dev.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, Will Sama wants to know if you had to pick just one turn-based game, which one would you pick for like the best UI GUI award?
Turn-based UI. That's a good question. I really like XCOM.
Which one?
I would say the old one is really good, but the new one's really, I think the new one's even better. XCOM with no dash, just because they simplified a lot of stuff. I love how they still call it XCOM, but then they remove the dash. It's so confusing.
You know, it's the 21st century.
Yeah.
We don't have dashes anymore.
So yeah, I would say XCOM does a really good job. They do a lot of interactivity with very little.
Okay.
Which turn-based game would you pick for the best gameplay award?
XCOM again.
Okay.
Have you played any other games than XCOM?
No, that's all I've played.
All right. Okay.
And Overwatch and PlayerUnknown.
Right.
Those are the three.
But no AAA games.
That's right.
I don't have a problem with AAA games, right? They're beautiful and everything. I just think that I crave new experiences, and a lot of times you just get the same experience. It looks a little prettier.
Yeah, no, I get that. Totally, I totally get that. So Rendrog, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but what is on the shelf behind you? I can't decide if they are DS games or CD cases.
Well, let me just grab one real quick.
All right.
This is important.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know.
This is probably something very dear to him.
What does Nic have behind him that is shooting its inspirational energy at him as he works?
Okay, here's a random selection.
It's a AAA game.
Oh, didn't know you're into that, Nic.
Those are muscles right there.
I didn't know you were also a model.
Shadow Light. So yeah, just a little light reading. My wife is into romance novels, presumably because I'm not romantic enough.
Clearly,
I'm in front of my computer. But yeah, she has since moved to like Kindle. But before that, she had a ton of these things. So she burns through like 2 books a day. She's ferocious. So she does all the reading in the family. Voracious?
Right.
Is that the right pronunciation? Yeah. I don't know. Anyway,
I
don't know.
What I see back there, Nic, is a cry for help.
Yeah, absolutely. Now every time you look back there, you're going to know. And you're going to be disgusted. So, good question.
Yeah, good question. Okay, then Ranrug also wants to know, have you considered getting another set of love letters in order to spell out evolve? Or maybe putting some Pokemon or Goku models behind you?
Love letter blocks. Oh, yeah. No, I think I'm going for the minimalist thing. My wife would go to these like painting classes where I guess they would get drunk and then paint something. And so that's where that came from.
That's what Roger does.
I've been to such classes.
Yeah.
Like when I was starting out, then there was this local art community thing that says we have painting and drawing classes, and I was going there, and it was just a bunch of housewives with bottles of wine just drinking, and there was little to no painting at all. So I went 3 times. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm done. This is nothing for me.
Yeah, the beginning of it starts really realistic, and then it just goes into like a Picasso halfway through this.
Yeah, pretty much. So Rendrog also wants to know if you coffee or cat slap, whatever that is.
Cat slap. Well, I'm drinking coffee right now, so that would be my go-to. But I've never experienced a cat slap, and so I'd have to go with the cat slap because you gotta know what that feels like. Is that with or without claws? I might change my answer if there's claws.
I don't know what you're into, man.
Okay, he also would like to know your reading habits, if any. Any current paperbacks, favorite authors?
No, I don't really read. I mean, I go through phases that are...
So think back to your last reading phase.
My last reading phase, I read philosophical and religious books for 2 years straight. I don't remember the names of them. But yeah, I'm not reading. I get all my information from other people who have read books. I make them give a talk or something. I don't know. I'd like to read more, but what can I say? I'd rather be sitting on my computer. Yeah, when I was young, we first found out about torrents, right? and this is back before really anybody knew about it. And I remember downloading a ton of books, and I would always use like the Cliff Notes and stuff in school. So there had been a long time when I never read a book. I would just get the Cliff Notes to get like some report done. And then later on, I read the books later, and I was like, these are pretty good. Like, maybe I should have just read them.
Right.
But I remember when I started stealing them online, it was just horrible, right? You have this CRT monitor and this like text that makes your head spin when you stare at it. And I remember like trying to read through The Art of War, and I read Ender's Game on that thing, just like sitting in the room. Yeah, and it was like, I remember getting a headache, but man, it was worth it. Like, so I'm so cheap. Basically, if I can find some way to like get around the system, then I'll read, right? Because I feel like I'm winning somehow. I don't know. I'm messed up. Can I say?
Like 99% of the world.
Yeah.
So Brandon Marche wants to know, like, how did you celebrate Programmers Day? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I heard about Bacon Day and Donut Day, but nobody cares about programmers. So
those are just in America.
Oh, really?
Probably sit behind your computer programming, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I was on my computer. I can guarantee that. So that's how I celebrated it.
Okay, so let's focus in on Archmage here. Where and how did you meet me?
I met Thomas at the Christian Game Developer Conference, like, I don't know, 5 years ago or something like that. Yeah. Remember, he was giving some pretty cool talks, and then I heard about Archmage, and it really stuck with me because, like, one thing that I really like about games is choice, right? I like to be creative in a game. And when he explained Archmage, it seemed like it had limitless possibilities. And so I really like games that have a lot of replayability, that I can try to, like, screw around with the systems, you know, and try to find unique ways through it so I feel smart. And, you know, and so this game really excited me. So
since you joined the team, you really scaled all that functionality back.
Just cranked it back.
That's too much work. No, sorry, that is too much work. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, once he had to build it, he's like, screw that, open systems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice. So how do you communicate with Thomas?
Just like this is it. What you see is what you get. Only there's less heads on the screen and more screaming.
Right.
Certain things you're not supposed to say, Nick.
Yeah.
Okay, have you ever won an argument with Thomas?
Oh, it's rare, but it happens.
There's like scratch marks on your wall, right?
Yeah, exactly. Will, did you write that? That seems like some Thomas would have stuck.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that was a Will Sama question. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you taller than Thomas?
I don't think so. I'm trying to remember because it seems like we're about the same height. Maybe he's taller.
How tall are you guys?
I'm like 5'11".
Yeah, I'm 5'11", but I always say I'm 6 feet because 5 feet is for females.
Yeah. That is not true.
I know, but I'm just saying that's I just say 6 feet rather than 5'11".
Yeah.
I'm googling how good. Oh, you guys are 5. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you guys are just as big as tall as I am.
Yeah.
There is a height requirement to work on this game.
That's right.
Yeah, I just made it. That's cool.
The minimum is 5'11".
Roger, why don't you take the next two?
Can you ask Thomas to stop fishing and focus on Build 11?
Thomas, could you please stop fishing and focus on Build 11? The irony is fishing, fishing's in Build 11. So what can you do? Thomas has been working on food. So, you've got your wish. And
right.
fish is a food.
Yeah.
So it's in there, but not just fish.
Well, and then when is Build 11 coming out?
When it's done.
Okay, so never.
Yeah, it's like what was it? What was that game where they said it's finished when it's done, and then it came out
that's
like
Blizzard, man.
That is Blizzard.
Blizzard was saying that with Diablo, like
Duke Nukem Forever.
When it's done.
Yeah, Duke Nukem
That's what I'm
Forever.
thinking of. Yeah, that game was a great name. They really knew what they were going for. It did take forever.
Good thing it was worth the wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is your favorite activity in Build 11?
My favorite activity in Build
Tennis
11.
fishing.
Yeah, I love this. Man, Will, you're great. I love this. My favorite activity. Well, I guess the thing I'm kind of excited about now is the grinding activity, which I don't know if we're going to talk about, but grinding, throwing stuff in the grinder. So the idea is like you can build a grinder room where you can basically process stuff. I just think it's so funny, like the idea of like having some cattle and then throwing it into the grinder and then having bacon pop out. I don't know. Something I like it mechanically because I really hate the idea in games of having like a ton of inventory, then have to wiggle it around, carry it around and manage it. I kind of love the idea of, for me, just wanting things clean, just like throw everything in the grinder. You know what I mean? Grind it down to the bits and then store it up and sell it and stuff. I don't know. I find that funny. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah. So apparently we are adding new features as we try to finish off Build 11. We keep adding new features.
Yeah.
Nick, if you had to pick just one, which addition included in Build 11 would you highlight? And fishing is not an answer.
I think that's what I just asked. I think that was the last one, right?
The grinder, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we just asked that. It's a weapon.
No, what is your favorite activity in Build 11?
Grinding stuff.
Okay, so which addition included in Build 11 would you highlight? Grinding stuff?
Yeah.
Grinding stuff.
Okay.
That's my final answer.
Okay. Which weapon included in Build 11 would you highlight?
Well,
The grinder.
yeah, the grinder. I don't know.
You should have
I
an
think
item that's a portable grinder that you can bring
Yeah,
with
we-
you.
right.
Just throw at your enemies.
the weapons are, there is some uniqueness between the weapons, but we haven't made the content run on it. So, I don't know, the weapon that does the most damage, I suppose, with the least amount of miss, I think that's the club. But I think as we start adding, like we did a bunch of changes to the UI and implemented the ability to add like weapon stats to it. So I'll have to answer that one later, like maybe next week when we get a bunch of weapons in, and then I think I'll have a different favorite.
Yeah. And the same for this next question. He asked about items, but again, we haven't done the content run on that, so we'll just skip over that.
Yeah, right now I like the boots of running though, because I think it's cool to put shoes on and then run around the map faster. That's implemented. So that's my favorite so far.
All right. Well, Will Sama also wants to know, like, what are your current or like Archmage's Rises tasks for the following weeks?
Well, Build 11 is not an answer.
No, that's
What?
not an answer.
No, you said you want it done, so that should be the answer. But I guess we're working on right now I'm working on the tavern events. So that's what I'm going to work on. I'm not sure what's after that.
Well, you
But
generally
that's what
know
I'm-
what's after that.
Build 11?
You generally know what's after that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a
Vacation.
list of stuff we got to do, right? Yeah.
So he wants to know what it is.
Well, basically, we need to implement all the other, or finish implementing content for the other features.
Okay.
I can pull up Asana and tell you what it is. That doesn't seem very exciting to me, but
Yeah, okay. How about this for an answer? We're going to revisit the dungeons. We're going to have
All right.
redo and improve those dungeons.
oh yeah.
So that's something he would like to know about, kind of after Build 11.
Okay, there you go. Hey, you're the boss.
Yeah.
You're the one who tells me what I'm doing.
Okay, so I keep you on a short leash. That's what everybody just learned.
That's right.
Or Nick doesn't actually read the project management system. One or the other. It's hard
Well,
to
maybe
say.
a little both.
Okay. Okay, so if you woke up tomorrow, and Roger, you can answer this as well. So if you woke up tomorrow, game was finished, would you be disappointed that you missed out on experiencing the full development?
No.
Okay.
I think we've developed enough. No, it's no, I don't know. I really have no idea. I think you guys can answer this much better than I do. For me, it's just making art. I do that every day. So, and most of the time, I only get hired on these fantasy game projects anyway. So, I'm not sure if I'm missing out, but I do really want to be there when the game is done and we start seeing people enjoying it, and maybe there's content creation from YouTubers and Twitch streamers or whatever is picked up and reviewed and stuff like that. I really want to be there. I mean, that's really looking forward to that. That's going to be really cool.
So we should have a release party in Amsterdam. That's what you're saying.
A release party in Amsterdam? Yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds great.
Okay, you heard it all here first. We'll invite everybody to our release party in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
My wife would so go for that. 100%. She'll be like, yep, let's do it.
Let's do it.
She loves traveling, right?
Yeah. If I said we're flying Roger into Canada for the release party, she'd be like, oh, that's not worth it. but if we were flying everybody, like our whole family, out to Amsterdam to have the release party so Roger could attend, she'd be like, oh yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Sounds great. I'll answer that question too. So if I woke up tomorrow and the game was finished, does that mean like everything was done, or we're just stopped working on it?
No. Like he's saying, like, if, you know, I don't know, some Chinese team came in and finished the game while we were sleeping.
Are you planning something?
Yeah, wow. I mean, I definitely want to be part of the whole thing. I mean, I guess I'd be happy that it's done and, like, you know, all the content's in there and stuff. I would play it. That's what I would do. I'd be happy about that, but definitely I would want to be part of it every step of the way.
Yeah.
I love working on it, and I'm really excited about it. So.
And you?
So yeah.
Thomas?
Yeah, I would say that I would be extraordinarily sad, and I would cry and cry and cry. That would be my reaction, because you know, I've been building this thing, and it's like, I don't know, I have this specific vision of what it is, and it's got my fingerprints all over it about, you know, what's important and what isn't and stuff. And so if somebody just took it and finished it, it would hit all the high points in terms of like the bullets on the website and that kind of thing. But that I wasn't there to actually do it would make me cry inside. So
yeah.
Rendrock also wants to know, like, are the results of the die in Archmage Rises based on the physical roll of the die on the screen, or is the on-screen roll tied to a generated number?
Yes.
I have no idea what I just read.
Yeah. So the question is, when we get a number when we're rolling, is it a random number generator, or is it actually like a physical die? And the answer is yes. So you have the option. By default, there's actually a physics-based dice that's like rolling around. They're bouncing into each other. There's an older video that shows it, but they're actually like these little 3D dice that are bouncing around and deciding what you rolled. But it does take some time to roll. Like I really like the dice rolls, but some people might want to play it faster. So you can turn that off, and then it switches to a random generator. So it really depends on the way you want to play, but both are implemented.
Yeah, so the game really rolls real dice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
How many hours a week do you work on Archmage? I want to know. Forget what Treehutter wants to know.
40 minimum, is what I'll say. Some are more, and some are 40. But
all right.
During a release or you know, crunch, it's much more than that. So, but that's the minimum.
Okay. Well, Scott Jacobson wants to know what part of the game code are you most proud of so far, or most frustrated with?
Oh man, that's really hard to answer. Like, I think you guys probably have an idea of how big the game is and how many systems there are, but you have no idea. The thing is giant, right? It's hard to pick just one. There's been a lot of like really big challenges, and we've gotten on top of all of them. So I think I'm really proud of it in general. What am I most frustrated with?
Town?
Maybe it's the same thing, right? We have so many features. There's so many options that, I'd like to really get in and, play the game and spend more time like really exploring it. But I'm developing it, so I can't just sit around and play it. And so we've got so many features where the game has tons of options, and those, Thomas is a perfectionist for his vision. So when we get into some system, it has to be perfect. So like that frustrates me a bit because I'm definitely like a path of least resistance kind of developer, but it also allows us to create a game that's better in the end, right? So even though it might be frustrating, I think it's the right path as far as making a game that fulfills the promises that we've made.
That's a pretty good answer.
I like that answer.
Yeah. Did you record this?
He's reading from a script, yeah.
All right, okay.
So Brendan wants to know, can you give us a behind-the-scenes look at your setup in Unity?
Yeah, pretty much looks like Unity. So do you want me to pull it up? What do you want?
And just
no,
actually, edit the screenshot in here.
Yeah, we'll just put the screenshot right here. Here's how Nic works.
Pew.
Yeah, there you go.
Sound effect.
Nice. Wow, technology.
Yeah. Brandon also wants to know how random are some of the events versus the illusion of choice.
So it really depends on the situation. Some of the situations are going to have more options, right? And some are going to have less. It really depends. Like when you're traveling around, there's different, what do they call it? Different events that happen. And some of those might give you a choice of how to like respond to people. Some of them might give you a choice on what to roll against your, your stealth, or roll against your perception, that kind of thing. So it really depends. We want to make it feel like, we want randomness to make the game different every time, but we also want to make it feel like it means something in the world, So we're trying to use the actual people, the actual places, the actual things in the game to generate these events in a way that makes sense in the world.
Right.
How big of a task is it to procedurally generate a world?
This world is gigantic. It's a huge amount of work, right? There's just a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of things going on. It's huge. I mean, I don't think we're gonna be done with it until the day we ship, right? It's like there's always something we can add. There's always something we can improve.
Maybe that day of shipping just never comes then.
Yeah, it's a huge task. Like it's.
Yeah.
So you'd measure that in man months.
In man months, the mythical man months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it'd be weeks for a woman, but for us men, it's measured in months.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
They can do everything at the same time. Of course.
That's true.
Well, a piece of art is never truly finished, merely abandoned.
I just finished it.
The first artist he does. Okay.
I'm done. This is it. What Rendrog wants to know what keeps you motivated and interested in Archmage Rises and pizza.
Choices. I want to play a game where it has a replayability, where I can go in and play it a different way and play as a trader, play as an adventurer, play as a bad guy doing terrible things, play as a good guy. I think that's what keeps me motivated is just sort of visualizing all the interesting things that can be done and the replayability of it.
So what are you going to do when Archmage is done?
I don't know. Hopefully work on Archmage expansion or Archmage 2, Thomas. That's what I want to do. I don't know. I haven't thought of it right now. It's just all thinking about Archmage as it is right now. I'll definitely be still working on games, of one type or another if I can.
If anybody would like to recruit Nic right now, he's fluent in both Unity and Unreal engines and can program in a multitude of languages.
Yeah, get on the list.
That's right.
So,
yeah, I
Brandon,
think that was a recruiter that wrote that one in.
Brandon wants to know, to get philosophical, if he can program a generated universe, like you, if you can do that, are we also living in someone else's program?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I believe it's God's program and a specific God, but I think it seems to be more and more evident that the world is based on information, and it's my feeling that we are in some kind of generated
it's all pixels,
world.
right?
Yeah, you zoom in, it's all math, right?
It's all pixels, man. It's just all pixels.
Well, it's more like, instead of pixels, so pixels are raster images, right? What are the vector images called?
Vector.
Vector, okay. Yeah. So the world is more like vectors. You get in close, you don't see bigger pixels. You just see the math defining what that curve is, right? And that's what I mean is like, pixels is data too, but vectors, the more you look in, the more clear it becomes. So yeah. That's my feeling.
Okay.
It's my opinion.
All right.
This is not my native language, otherwise we would have maybe discussed.
Okay, well, that is all the questions that we had, and thank you very much, Nic, for being in the hot seat. And next week, you get to return the favor.
Yay!
Okay, so goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.